you're muted right now. Okay, good evening, everyone. We are about to start our meeting, so at this time, the public will be muted except for the portions of the public hearing.
All participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves.
No one is calling in, right?
Yeah, Jeff Freitag's on. I heard him.
Okay, but no one from the...
No.
Okay.
All participants are muted.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Elmwood Park Mayor and Council for June 18, 2020 to order at 7:01 p.m. On roll call, council members Fasolo.
Here.
Golubek.
Here.
Ingui, absent. Pellegrin.
Here.
Wetchler. Here. Council President Balistrary.
Here.
Mayor Coletti.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Erin. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And I must say, it is real good to see actual people in our audience tonight.
Yes.
It's been a while since we've had, or allowed to at least have this amount of people, and it's a beautiful night, and you people are beautiful to us too. So, let us get started. If we could start with our prayer and flag salute. Could everybody please rise? O God, our Father, we ask you to bless our meeting, which we entrust to your fatherly care and protection. Please remove all selfishness and prejudice from our hearts and implant therein a keen sense of justice and greater love for you and our neighbors. Guide us in our deliberation so that our decisions will always please you and bring your peace and happiness to our community. Amen. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please sit. Whereas Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of the State of New Jersey require at commencement of every meeting a statement of compliance be read by the presiding officer. Now, therefore be advised that meeting requirements for this meeting have been met by publishing a special notice in the Record and Herald News and by posting such notice in the office of the Borough Clerk as well as in a public place within the municipal building, and by notifying interested citizens. Said notice was posted on January 8th, 2020. In addition, notice reflected the time change was transmitted on April 21st, 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is being videotaped and will be on Cablevision, Channel 77, on Monday at 3 p.m. and Thursday at 11:30 a.m. The video also will be available on the borough's website at www.elmwoodparknj.us. Erin.
Please note that due to precautionary measures to help prevent the spread of COVID-19, we have a conference call set up for the public to call as a means of participating in tonight's meeting. For the public's information and record, the public's lines will be muted except for when we open the meeting up for public hearing portions. We thank you in advance for your patience during the operation of tonight's meeting. Under the approval of minutes this evening, we have the May 21st, 2020 regular meeting, June 4th, 2020 work session and executive session meeting, and June 11th work session and executive session meeting minutes.
May I have a motion on those minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
On roll call, council members Fasolo.
Yes.
Golubek.
Yes.
Ingui, absent. Pellegrin.
Yes.
Wetchler.
Yes.
Balistrary.
Yes.
Motion carries. For ordinances being read on first reading, Resolution R-241-20, introduced ordinance number 20-18 on first reading, Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to Amend Chapter 2 Administration," more specifically Article 3 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park titled Department of the Local Government, more specifically Section 2-27 entitled Police Department, more specifically Section 2-27.1 entitled Creation of Department Members, be passed and adopted on first reading, and be it resolved that a final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, July 16, 2020 at 7 p.m., or as soon thereafter as same can be heard, at which time any persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk be and she is hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper a notice of introduction and final hearing as required by law.
May I have a motion to introduce the ordinance?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Call the roll, please.
First by Wetchler, second by Fasolo. On roll call, council members Fasolo.
Yes.
Golubek. Ingui, absent. Pellegrin.
Yes.
Wetchler. Council President Ballastreary.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution R-242-20, introduced ordinance number 20-19 on first reading. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey," amending Chapter 14 entitled Fire Prevention, more specifically Section 14-1.8 entitled Non-Life Hazard Uses, by amending and adding certain language contained and a new use so that to that section with the proposed language and use as follows, be passed and adopted on first reading, and be it resolved that a final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, July 16, 2020 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter, same can be heard, at which time any persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk be and she is hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper notice of introduction and final hearing as required by law.
Motion to introduce.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
First by Fasolo, second by Pellegrin. On roll call, council members Fasolo.
Yes.
Golubek.
Yes.
Ingui, absent. Pellegrin.
Yes.
Wetchler. Council President Ballastreary.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution R-243-20, introduced ordinance number 20-20 on first reading. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to Fix the Salary, Wage, and Compensation of the Officers, Employees, and Servants of the Borough of Elmwood Park, County Bergen, State of New Jersey, for the year of 2020, be passed and adopted on first reading, and be it resolved that a final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, July 16, 2020 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter, same can be heard, at which time any persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk be and she is hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper notice of introduction and final hearing as required by law.
May I have a motion to introduce?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
On roll call, council members Fasolo.
Yes.
Golubek.
Yes.
Ingui, absent. Pellegrin.
Yes.
Wetchler. Council President Ballastreary.
Yes.
Motion carries. For ordinances being read on second reading, Resolution R-244-20, introduced ordinance number 20-16 on second reading, whereas a public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the Borough of Elmwood Park, County Bergen, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing the Code of the Borough, Chapter 22 entitled Streets and Sidewalks, more specifically Section 22-3 entitled Curbs and Sidewalks, more specifically subsection 22-3.3 entitled Maintenance and Repairs, so as to include certain language clarifying the obligation and responsibility set forth therein under certain special circumstances. Whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, May 21st, 2020, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given an opportunity to be heard concerning the same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the Borough of Elmwood Park, County Bergen, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing the Code of the Borough, Chapter 22 entitled Streets and Sidewalks, more specifically Section 22-3 entitled Curbs and Sidewalks, more specifically subsection 22-3.2 entitled Maintenance and Repairs, so as to include certain language clarifying the obligation and responsibility set forth therein under certain special circumstances, passed on final reading."
Before we open to the public, I'm going to allow our chief here to explain a little bit about the ordinance. Then I'll chime in also.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So the purpose is to
When we pave a road, we send our engineer and our DPW superintendent out first to evaluate the curbs and their condition. They come back to us with a determination and a recommendation whether the curbs should be replaced and repaired or if they are not. This is for all jobs, including utility work. Mayor?
Yes, I just want to add to that. What happens, has happened in the past in all towns, not just ours, when there is road repair, you allocate that money and put it in a budget to resurface the road. Curbing is very expensive, and a lot of times we've closed our eyes to it in the past. And pavement has its strength when you go from curb to curb. And if the curb's not there, then the pavement can move. So it's really basic. It's like building a house. You got to start off with the foundation. Before you pave a road, you got to make sure the curbs are in place. We've decided that between our engineer and our DPW director, they will be the judges. And basically, we're looking not to exceed 30% of a curb that's not there. So if 30% of the curb isn't there, we're going to replace it. May I have a motion to open to the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney, will you please open the lines?
Before I do so, Mayor, we do have comments that were submitted via email, and they are from Ms. Gladys Griskowitz in reference to ordinance 20-16. When curbs are identified as in need of repair, how will this be presented to the mayor and council? Mayor, do you want me to go read them all at once?
No, I think we better go one by one.
Okay.
Okay. So her question one more time. I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
When curbs are identified as in need of repair, how will this be presented to the mayor and council?
Via the engineer and our DPW director.
Will the name of the owner be left out and only the street be identified?
The name be left out and only the street identified. No, we don't care about names, we care about missing curbs. So that's our objective, is to identify curbs that are in need to be replaced.
When and where will inspecting curbs begin?
Well, it'll start as the engineer is initially scoping the project, and then it also would be examined after the road has been milled. And for that reason, we've been catching a lot of situations where curbs have been patched by the homeowners, and they just patch down to the road. So when you mill the pavement away, all of a sudden now you can see a curb that's in need of replacement. So there will be two examinations regarding that.
Will there be a list compiled of residents who have called to request help with their broken curbs?
This is not a question of a resident calling us. Like I said, we have a 30% guideline. That is to be determined by our DPW director and our engineer of record.
Who will be picked first for curb restoration?
Who will be?
Who would be picked first for curb restoration?
No one. There's no favorites here. It's a bad curb. We're going to fix it.
Will there be a dated sign-up sheet so residents can see where they stand as far as a time frame is concerned?
That you might just want to follow the evolution of our paving program and, of course, public service. Right now, we are at their beck and call. From what I understand, they're going to come back into these areas now. They've replaced the main in the street. Now they're going to come back with their lines going back into the house. So we're at their mercy, and I can't give you an educated answer at this point.
Lastly, can the mayor and council give a time frame when work will begin to address broken curbs?
I think I just answered that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, at this time, I will unmute the public's lines. For those listening in, please try to eliminate all background noise.
All participants are unmuted.
Would anyone from the public like to speak at this time? Please state your name and address for the record.
Anyone from the public here to speak? If no one else wishes to be heard, I will close the public hearing.
All participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves. All participants are muted.
Okay.
May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
First by Wetchler, second by Fasolo. On roll call, council members Fasolo,
Yes.
Golubek,
Yes.
Ingui, absent, Pellegrin.
Yes.
Wetchler. Council President Balistrary.
Yes, but Aaron, I need to go back on R241-20 and abstain on that, please.
Mayor, you would have to, can we do a reintroduction of that ordinance?
Yes, yes.
Resolution R-241-20, introduced ordinance number 20-18 on first reading. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled, actually, I'm sorry, Sal, should we rescind the first one and then reintroduce?
Well, I think the council can make a motion to accept the council members' changing of their vote.
Yes.
Okay.
It can be done by request and council approving the request from the councilwoman. Although off the record, and it's really not, it's out.
TO.
But
Okay, we're figuring things out here, ladies and gentlemen. Bear with us.
Yeah, TO, not the salary person, TO.
I don't think that she needs to recuse either. That's just me.
Little sidebar going on.
I don't recuse in Garfield on half the things that you guys recuse. I don't.
okay, yes. Council can.
Please speak in the mic.
Yeah, let the record reflect that in reviewing the situation, yes, Councilwoman, you are making a request for the council to reconsider your vote on the prior one. It can be done without reopening
Okay.
the process, just by amending the recording of the vote. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, you have to agree to it. There's a motion. She's made a motion. Someone second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Sandy, I hope we're not going to go through that again tonight.
No promises, Mayor.
I have to take some responsibility. It should have been my job to tell her not to. So,
Okay. Okay, you're guilty then, Sal.
I think be cool.
So now what's the penalty for that? Hanging at 12 o'clock this evening?
Flashing with a wet noodle outside the park.
Continue, please.
Okay, resolution R-245-20, introduced ordinance number 20-17 on second reading. Whereas a public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled Bond Ordinance to authorize the improvement of Donor Avenue from Elmwood Terrace to Glenwood Avenue in Echo Place in bind for the Borough of Elmwood Park, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $305,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds, to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, May 21st, 2020, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons concerning said ordinance were given an opportunity to be heard concerning the same, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled Bonds Ordinance to authorize the improvement of Donor Avenue from Elmwood Terrace to Glenwood Avenue in Echo Place in bind for the Borough of Elmwood Park, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $305,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds, to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, pass on final reading.
Before we move to open for the public, I'm going to allow Daniel, please speak on this.
Sure,
Give us
Mayor.
some background.
Essentially, we're paving two streets, Echo and Dorner portions through federal money. The federal money is about $200,000. The project's a little over $200,000. So the CFO recommends going through a bonding process, and then we get the check from the federal government and apply it towards that. So we're just doing this because we have a difference there that we owe.
Thank you for that explanation. May I have a motion to open for a public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney, can you
At this time, I am going to unmute the public lines. Please eliminate all background noise and state your name and address for the record.
All participants are unmuted.
Would anyone from the public like to speak on this ordinance and this ordinance only?
Jeffrey Freitag, 35 Willow Drive.
Hi, Jeff.
Let's clarify something. I heard Councilperson Golovec speak to this. The $200,000 is coming from the federal government. Is that correct?
That's my rounding. It's, 190 something.
Okay.
Yeah, it's around there.
Okay, now the job is, you're taking a bond, a bond anticipation note for $305,000 to pay the cost. How much is the job supposed to cost? What is it going to be?
I don't have the document in front of me, but the project has not, the bids have not been opened. It's either in bid preparation or it's out on the street. So taking that conservative amount, that range, plus the engineer's fee, the CFO, we bond up to 305 so that we have a cushion. That final number very well may be below 305, but this allows us to issue, one ordinance and not have to revisit it if we were too conservative in our number.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else care to speak on this ordinance? Anyone else? If no one else wishes to be heard, I will close the public portion. May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
First by Wetchler, second by Balistrary on roll call. Council members Fasolo.
Yes.
Golubek.
Yes.
Ingui absent. Pellegrin.
Yes.
Wetchler. Council President Balistrary.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, we have two special resolutions on the floor this evening. Resolution R-246-20. Appoint police officer Daniel Carone. Be it resolved by the mayor and council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that the following names be and is hereby appointed as a police officer in the Police Department of the Borough of Elmwood Park effective June 19, 2020. Daniel Carone. Be it further resolved that remuneration is set at the rate as per the 2018 through 2025 PBA contract effective March 15th, 2018.
Okay, are we set? Let's do this.
We need a motion,
Oh,
Mayor?
motion. Okay,
Yep.
yeah,
Second.
we got to make it legal first. I'm sorry. Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we just made it.
On roll call, council members Fasolo.
Yes.
Golubek.
Yes.
Ingui, absent. Pellegrin.
Yes.
Wetchler. Yes. Council President Balistrary.
I have to abstain on this only because I have a family member working for the police department.
Okay, motion carries. At this time, I would like to welcome up to the dais Daniel Carone and his family to be sworn in by Mayor Coletti and Police Liaison Ms. Councilwoman Pellegrin.
All participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves. All participants are muted.
Now, the reason I was rushing this thing along was because he's waited so long for this. And I didn't want to hold you back any further. It's been a while, right? You ready for this? You should be enjoying this. It doesn't happen many times, only once or twice. Hopefully just once. Hopefully just once. I'm going to say aye, and then just state your name, and then you'll repeat after me.
I, Daniel Carone,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear
that I will bear
true faith and allegiance
true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of the office of
all the duties of the office of
police officer
police officer
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Let's give him a round of applause.
Just let me know what it's supposed to be and I'll fix it. Certain language. Okay. I got tripped up there for a second. Adding certain, okay, thank you.
Roll call, roll call, roll call. Okay.
Congratulations. Oh, here we go. Yes.
Home address? Do you want to say something about David first and then go on to the next one, or do you want to do the next one when we talk about both of them?
Yeah.
I think do them together. Do them together?
Yeah, we're going to hold back on our comments until the second officer is sworn in. Okay?
Congratulations.
Okay, moving on to Resolution R-247-20, appoint police officer Philip DeLuca. Be it resolved by the mayor and council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that the following name be and is hereby appointed as a police officer in the Police Department of the Borough of Elmwood Park effective June 19, 2020, Philip DeLuca. Be it further resolved that remuneration is set at the rate as per the 2018 through 2025 PBA contract effective March 15, 2018.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Call the roll?
First by Pellegrin, second by Fasolo. On roll call, council members Fasolo?
Yes.
Golubek?
Yes.
Ingui, absent. Pellegrin?
Yes.
Wetchler? Council President Balistrary.
I'm abstaining only because I have a family member working for police department.
Motion carries. At this time, will Philip DeLuca please come up to the dais to be sworn in by Mayor Coletti alongside his family and Councilwoman Pellegrin.
Hello, welcome. Thank you. Big moment, huh? Yes. Proud of him, huh? Very proud. That's good. Feels like a good boy. Yeah. Good. Brother, parents, girlfriend, his wife. I know times have changed, and I know I'm old. Ooh, whoa. Yeah, really. Ready? I'm ready. You sure? You want to scream before you do this? All right. I'm going to say I, and then you repeat your name, then everything after. I
I, Philip DeLuca,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear
that I will bear
true faith
true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same,
and to the governments
to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority
under the authority
of the people,
of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of
of the office of
police officer
police officer
according to the best
according to the best
of my ability,
of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Very good. You guys did a good job. Now, are you the girlfriend or the wife?
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, good. I have it in my office now. Congratulations. You have the, do you need a pen for?
Yeah, you
There you go. And then it's just your name and address on the right side.
Wait till he's done.
Okay.
Waiting till he's finished?
Yes, if we start with our police liaison, Lorraine?
Yes. Gotta take the mask off first. My glasses will fog up. You want me to start? or
Yes,
wait till-
please.
Okay. So I just want to say congratulations to both of you and your families on their appointments tonight to our police team. You're joining a great department who does so much for our community. I wish you both a long, safe, and successful career here in Elmwood Park. Welcome to our family.
Mr. Gollenbeck?
Thank you, Mayor. To Mr. DeLuca, Officer DeLuca, welcome. I know you come highly recommended, and I hope you feel at home here in Elmwood Park. To Mr. Crone, Officer Crone, welcome in your new capacity. I know you've served Elmwood Park in so many roles, and it's great to see that when you put in your time and you get to that next level of joining the force, and that's a wonderful thing. I ask that you stay safe and please serve the residents and the community with the highest integrity at all times. Welcome and good luck. Thank you.
Sandy?
Yes, I would like to congratulate both Police Officer Carone and DeLuca. We welcome you here. You are joining a police department that is second to none. I wish you good luck and be safe out there as you begin your career here in Elmwood Park.
Doris?
I'd like to welcome both of you. You come to a beautiful family in Elmwood Park. This town is one big family. Everybody knows everybody and everybody worries about everybody, especially this council right here. You're all in our prayers, every one of our members of our police department, our ambulance corps, and our fire department. So please be safe out there, and families, thank you for trusting them with us. Thank you so much, and please be safe. Thank you.
Francesco?
And when COVID's over, Doris is going to give you both a hug.
Chief, she already did. She did it. I'd like to congratulate Officer DeLuca and Officer Carone. You're joining a really tight-knit group of guys and girls, and a really tight-knit community as well. Congratulations, stay safe, and congratulations to your family as well. Thank you.
I'm going to go next because the last word should come from your chief. Makes sense, right? I just like to say that you look like two good young people. That's what we want. As Sandy had mentioned, our police force is second to none. That's because we do a good job in screening and making sure we get good people. And in the current climate, in the temperature out there, just want you to know that I know I can speak for this mayor and council, that you have our full support. Nothing less than that. Your jobs are totally appreciated. That hogwash you see out there on the television, disregard it, because this place here is stable in terms of what we think about our community, and hence the reflection that the police have on our community. And once we know we have a great force, we know that already, that we want to keep it that way. So welcome. Don't disappoint me, guys. Yes, please.
So Dan Carone has been with the department as a special police officer for 6 years, and he served at Casco as a dispatcher. He's done a phenomenal job in both capacities, and he's been waiting for this, and Dan, I'm happy for you. You earned it, and welcome aboard as a police officer. Phil comes to us with 4 years' experience from the Morris County Sheriff's Department. He does come highly recommended. He has friends here that stepped up for him and recommended him. He did a thorough investigation, and Phil checks all the boxes. He's going to be a fine officer for the department. Gentlemen, you're joining a professional accredited police department where we hold our personnel to the highest of standards. And you wouldn't have it any other way, because that's how you want to go out there with your head held high, knowing that we follow the rules and we treat people with respect. Our mission is very simple. best law enforcement services delivered to our citizens with the most courteous, professional services we can provide. That's the way we roll around here. We won't accept anything less. I know you guys are up for the task. Thank you for accepting this position, and we welcome you to the community and to the family.
There you go. Yes, we're going to take a short recess. Thank you all for coming. You can leave if you want. You can stay if you want. Any way you want to do it, so.
For those listening in the public, we will be muting our lines for the next few moments or so. Okay, Mayor, if we can reestablish quorum on roll call, council members Fasolo,
Here.
Golubek, Ingui absent, Pellegrin,
Here.
Wetchler, Council President Balistrary.
Here.
We have a quorum.
I think you forgot me.
Oh, Mayor Coletti, how could I ever do that?
I don't feel bad now. See, fellow Gemini,
Mayor Coletti,
You have forgotten me already.
here.
we have a quorum.
Taurus.
Okay.
All right, if we can proceed then.
Yes, absolutely. Tonight on our consent agenda consists of the following. R-248-20 approval of payroll, R-249-20 approval of bills list, R-250-20 resolution authorizing contracts with certain approved state contract vendors for contracting units pursuant to NJSA 40A 11-12A. R-251-20 authorizing the Borough of Elmwood Park to extend the existing recycling agreement. R-252-20 appoint summer camp teacher Brianna Quattrone, Recreation Department. R-253-20 approve the installation of parking lot Cherry Hill Park IDA Site Work Services, Inc. R-254-20 approve the installation of half basketball court Rosemont Park IDA Site Work Services, Inc. R-255-20 appoint special projects engineer Costa Engineering. R-256-20 authorize purchase of equipment Mini Pumper Fire Department. R-257-20 authorize purchase of equipment Truck 4 Fire Department. R-258-20 appointment of dispatcher Police Department Samaya Abdullah. R-259-20 approve retirement compensation Police Department Ralph Sagona. R-260-20 accept sidebar to collective negotiations agreement White Collar Blue Collar. R-261-20 resolution increasing hours Clerk's Office Shanae Morris. R-262-20 resolution increasing hours Police Department Brian D. Pasquale. R-263-20 authorize release of road opening performance bonds. R-264-20 designating the appointment of designees in the Elmwood Park Police Department for the purposes of open public records and litigation matters. R-265-20 various appointments of junior firefighters. R-266-20 resolution authorizing inclusion in the Bergen County Community Development Program. R-267-20 resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with the County of Bergen to supersede the cooperative agreement dated July 1st, 2000, and amendments thereto establishing the Bergen County Community Development Program. R-268-20 resolution accepting the 2020 Safe and Secure Grant from the Department of Law and Public Safety. R-269-20 resolution of the Borough of Elmwood Park supporting the enactment of Assembly Bill number 3971 and Senate Bill number 2475 to authorize the issuance of coronavirus relief bonds by municipalities and counties. R-270-20 supporting small businesses and advancing public health by allowing the use of public and private space for outdoor seating, sales, and customer pickup. R-271-20, supporting small businesses and advancing public health by suspending and relaxing certain restrictions set forth in Chapter 4, entitled Licensing and Business Regulation, more specifically Section 4-12, entitled Food Handlers Mobile, more specifically Section 4-12.6, entitled Prohibited Acts, Certificate of Occupancy, more specifically Paragraph A1 and A3, and Section 4-12.16, entitled Location, more specifically Paragraph B of the Borough Code, and R-272-20, resolution to approve the consent agenda.
May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Call the roll, please.
On roll call, council members Fasolo,
Yes to all, but I will abstain on R-271-20 as my extended family owns a food truck in town.
Golubek,
Yes.
Ingui absent, Pellegrin,
Yes.
Wetchler,
Yes, I recuse myself on R-248-20, Harry Wetler's check, but yes to the rest.
Council President Balistrary.
I abstain on R-246-20, R-247-20, R-258-20, R-259-20, R-262-20, and R-264-20, but I say yes to the rest.
Thank you. Motion carries. That's all I have on the agenda this evening. I turn it over to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Erin. Ladies and gentlemen, in the wake here of the pandemic, we've suspended our council reports due to the fact that we wanted to limit the time that we spend with each other. I think we should do that for the rest of our lives, by the way. So starting with me. So with that said, I will ask any council person who cares to speak on anything that happened this evening. But if a council person does not speak, it's because they were asked not to. Other than tonight, we'll open it up for whatever they would like to say. Mr. Fasolo.
May I have a quick one? I just want to congratulate all the graduates this year who are going to be graduating on Friday. Best of luck in your future endeavors. The graduation's at 4 o'clock at the high school parking lot on Gilbert Avenue. Thank you.
Doris? Thank you. Sandy?
Yes. I also like to congratulate all the graduates that are graduating tomorrow. The only thing I want to mention, Mayor, is that the drive-in movie will be tomorrow night. You need to RSVP with the Recreation Department at 201-796-1457, extension 350. This will be held at the Parkway Lanes, 200, Route 46, and the movie will be Jumanji, which will be at 9 p.m. Cars can enter at 8:15. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Sandy, I heard rumor it was sold out. Not sold out. It was booked, I should say. There's no charge for this, by the way. Did you hear?
I didn't hear. but-
Okay, so then what you had said stands well. Okay. Mr. Gollenbeck? Lorraine?
Would also like to congratulate the class of 2020. I congratulate you on all your achievements. To our 8th graders going to high school, good luck, work hard, and enjoy the next 4 years. To our seniors, good luck in college, business school, or in the workforce. Follow your passion, work hard, and always believe in yourself, and I know you will achieve your goals. Congratulations, class of 2020.
Thank you, Lorraine. And we might want to make mention that the council, the mayor and council will be out there tomorrow, giving congratulations to each and every one of those students. And from what I understand, they might even be getting a second chance to celebrate. So I won't speak of that because I don't know for sure. But we will be there tomorrow congratulating all you young folk who've reached this milestone. I have a couple of things I'd like to speak to quickly on. It's been a busy last couple of weeks. We've actually hosted 2 protests in this town. And I do want to say that they probably can go into a textbook in terms of a way a protest should happen. The protesters were ruly. They were getting their point across. There wasn't one incident that erupted. As a matter of fact, I saw some of the participants picking up their empty water bottles and putting it in a trash can. That's the way we should have a protest. People listen when we protest like that. And when we protest in other ways, they turn themselves off. The other item I want to speak to about tonight is about the support of our police force. I think I've mentioned it before. This is so, the police force is our first line of defense in civility. And there is no debate on that. Without a police force, you have no civilization that's civil, in plain English. Now, to abolish the police force or to defund it is, I'm going to quote that general in World War II that at the Battle of the Bulge, Sal, you might remember this, the German general asked the general of the American army at the time, I think it was a colonel, would you surrender? Bastogne. The Germans surrounded Bastogne. And the message that the colonel sent back to the Germans was, nuts. Well, that's what typical of talking about defunding or removing parts of our police force. If anything, and coming from me, who's a fiscal conservative, if anything, we have to strengthen them. Now, don't hold me to this, guys. Yes, we are. All right, but don't confuse things here now. Yeah, tell her, Sal. Tell her. So my point is that we got to stay strong with the police force. There's no other way of maintaining civility as we have known it and grown up unless we do so. And that I want to refer to the second protest that also went without a hitch. I want to pat our police chief on the back, the way he managed both situations to where it was flawless. That's it for me. I think I said enough. Well, whatever we decided on, we're getting. Well, actually, we are getting 1 3/4, and we'll talk about it another time. I'll explain it. Shall we move along here now? With that, I'd like to have a motion to open to the public.
Second.
All in favor? Ms. Delaney, should you...
Yes, before I open the lines, Mayor, I have 2 public comments that were submitted by way of email, if you don't mind, that I could read into the record.
Just one thing, if I did mind, would it matter?
No, it wouldn't.
Okay, I do mind.
Oh, boy. Okay, the first one is submitted by Mr. Asim Mahmood. My name is Asim Mahmood. I live on Martha Avenue, and I am a former web developer who lost his job during COVID-19. I was looking for a way to help the community on my spare time, and I had an idea that would help our town. I wanted to create a system similar to a job board for our town, which consists of community service and gigs. Residents can register for help. Students and other residents can assist. A point system can be accumulated for prizes as well. There's much that can be done, and I want to take lead in the initiative. My email address is, and I'll remove that for the public record if anyone is interested. Thank you for your time.
I'm going to yield to my colleagues. Anyone care to address this?
I was thinking about maybe having Councilwoman Pellegrin get in touch with him, maybe to help with the RAP program.
Yeah, maybe we can have a meeting with the chief and the mayor and sit together and see what we can come up with, and help the residents out. But I think it has to be definitely with the business administrator and the mayor and myself. I'd be happy to do that, so we can reach out to this gentleman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have from Ms. Barbara Vonsenhagen. Please remind the residents to complete the 2020 census. Over the next decade, lawmakers, business owners, and many others will use 2020 census data to make critical decisions. The results will show where communities need new schools, new roads, and more services for families, older adults, and children. As of 6/17/2020, Elmwood Park has a self-response rate of 68.7%. Elmwood Park can do better if everyone takes the time to fill out their form. Online, they can do so my2020census.gov. For phone in English, 844-330-2020, in Spanish, 844-468-2020, and in Polish, 844-479-2020. Mail, you can mail back the paper questionnaire sent back to your home. The deadline for completion has been extended until October 31st, 2020. That's all I have, Mayor, for emails that were submitted.
Okay, so with that, then, I'd like a motion to open to the public. All in favor? Mrs. Delaney?
All participants are unmuted.
If anyone from the public would like to speak, please state your name and address for the record, and if all others can eliminate their background noise, it would be greatly appreciated.
Gladys Griskowitz, 256 Fensack Avenue. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we can, Gladys.
Okay. I have a question about the company that was hired to trim the trees. Does anyone come around and supervise them to actually make sure that what they're cutting off is balancing the trees out? Because I've seen a couple of mutilation jobs, and the trees actually do not look safe. And I've had people on the corner where they were cut 2 years ago into a V. Every tree going down the boulevard looked like a V, and her limbs keep falling off. My question too is, do we still supply trees to residents?
Mike, can you answer that?
Yes, Mayor. Ms. Griskowitz, I'm not aware of a vendor that we hired to do tree cutting. Excuse me? I'm being told by the attorney this might be public service, or it could be private contractors. I'm not aware of the borough. You want to answer, Sal? You could.
It's my understanding that a lot of the tree cutting that is being done is for the purposes of clearing the power lines. And I think it is mostly done by public service, and public service sometimes subcontracts that job to a vendor, a private contractor that will do it. The borough has not authorized any kind of cutting trees whatsoever, so that's the only option that you have there, that they would be able to do it, because actually they're trying to protect the power lines. Interesting to know, because
I understand that.
Interesting.
I understand that. They were here last week, and they cut all the trees on one side that the wires were, above. But I think that they should be supervised. I don't care who hired them. I mean, this is our town.
They
I can
probably
see
do have
trees that are
supervisors.
going to actually collapse because
Yeah,
of the way they were cut.
Yeah, Gladys,
Going forward-
Gladys, let me stop you for a second. I completely agree with you. They come through, and it looks, after they get finished, it looks like a B-29 crashed into the tree. However, it's out of our hands. We do not have anyone that actually stands over them and tells them to take this limb down and that limb down. And from what I understand, we cannot stop them. But what I'd like to see going forward is that when we do plant a tree, let's not put it in that right of way. Let's put it on our property so that it can grow, and we can nourish it and appreciate its beauty. To see trees ruined like that kills me too, 100%.
Right, because in Paramus, you're not allowed to plant a tree on the curb. It must be on your property.
Yeah, we should-
And I was going to say, going forward, maybe not plant trees if they're going to give them out where the power lines are. I mean, I know it wouldn't be fair because only one side would have trees, but what I see is like total destruction on my block. And on the next block, it's like
Yeah.
no one cared. It's like someone just took a big trimmer and decided they were just going to cut any branch off. And it just, I don't know.
No, it's ugly.
done
You're 100% right. It's ugly. But what might come out of this, and your call here this evening, is that the council might consider that we pass an ordinance to where we can't plant any longer between the curb and the sidewalk.
Mayor, may I chime in? Mayor, the ordinance, our ordinance does not allow planting of trees anywhere between the curb and 10 feet in. So and to answer the other question about the borough, there is a tree program, a tree list that the DPW secretary manages, and the borough has 3 tree options that residents can choose from. And I think we got about 30 or so signups. We're actually in the process of getting prices for a bulk purchase of, I don't know how many trees, 20 to 30 trees for a fall planting. But yes, according to our ordinance, according to Scott Cars and all the different regulations, it can only be planted 10 feet from the curb going in towards the home.
Added it right away.
Oh, so they can't be planted in the curb, that's what you're saying, Daniel?
They cannot be planted between the curb and the sidewalk, that 2-foot green area.
Oh, so when did this ordinance pass? Because they planted trees on my curb, like in my curb, and I actually ripped them out because they were, the trees that they picked, the roots are not growing downward, they're growing upward. And I could take pictures of all the trees that have been planted in Elmwood Park that the curbs are literally, a foot up because of the roots. I took mine out. I didn't want to have the problem of someone tripping on my sidewalk, so I took them out. I didn't know that they weren't allowed to go on the curb because that's what I keep seeing. The people around the corner got trees from the town and they planted them within the curb and the sidewalk.
So, okay, I
think
we answered your question as best as possible at this point.
Can I add something quickly?
Right.
Yeah, good.
If I could?
Lorraine.
I completely agree with you and Mrs. Gritzowitz about how they come in, PSE&G, and I know we can't stop that, but I do think we can, and I don't know if it probably won't do anything, but it would just make me feel better as a resident also, to send a letter to them with our dissatisfaction of how they come in our town, and to trim a tree is one thing, we know they have to do it for the power lines, but the way they have no regard for how they look after in a community where those trees have been up for years, I think it at least warrants a letter to them to show our dissatisfaction.
And to your point, too, I think in that letter, we should include the fact that they render some trees dangerous. And if you consider ice during the winter, and you got a tree that's just got 2 limbs, nothing in the middle, one of those limbs is coming down in a heavy, icy situation. So, yes, I agree with you. I think we should get a letter out, Mike.
Mayor, what I can suggest is that I can send a letter out on behalf of the municipality showing the satisfaction of how it's been approached. But also if I can make a suggestion, is that besides the ordinance that Councilman Golombek just pointed out, which is unusual to see anyone planting a tree on the curb line or by the curb, unless they're doing it on their own. But another thing that can be done by the borough is to prepare an ordinance where the type of tree that you're planting would be a miniature tree rather than a tree that will grow past towards the power lines. So by keeping a tree in the area which is lower and will not grow to the height that would interfere with the power lines, that would help the whole situation. As trees die out, you replant them or introduce newer trees, which the height growth
Doesn't exceed the power lines. Daniel, do we have anything like that?
Yes, the actual, to the borough attorney's point, the 3 trees that the DPW director identified that we're offering the residents are specifically ones that would not get too high. So he considered all that, and he advised that the ones we're choosing would be safe for any situation.
Yeah.
So I think we're covered.
And Sal, in that letter, I emphasize safety, that they're creating an unsafe environment. And maybe the wise thing for them to do is to tell us, instead of leaving us a tree that looks like a B-52 ran through, maybe they were going to tell us to take the tree down, or take the tree down, and we don't have to worry about the safety aspect of it.
Mayor, what I'm going to do is address it in a general sense throughout the borough, because otherwise I would have to start designating specific areas where they actually did. So I'm going to address the letter as in general letter for any present and future projects where they intend to make trim a particular tree that may cause a health condition or a safety hazard, for them to look into it prior to, it might be best to cut the tree down, cut it out, and plant an old,
And then, even at that point, if we do the planting, they're not going to do that.
No.
They're not going to chop the tree down, de-root, and then plant for us.
No, but they can cut the tree down to size where it will be maintained, could be maintained to level where it will not grow to the level.
Sal, do you see what they do?
I
mean,
see it. No,
these
I see
trees
it.
are up past the
I see it.
power lines.
I see it on my road, where I live, up and down Cadmus and all around there. I mean, every time they cut a tree, they don't give a darn about anything else other than just clearing the power line.
Right.
But to their detriment, technically, what they're doing is by causing a weed, they're creating an hazard where the tree will fall a lot faster than it would if it didn't.
And that's danger. And, very good, Gladys. I'm glad. I've been dying to bring this up myself. You refreshed my memory. We appreciate that. Now, Gladys, I got a question for you. You still with us? Are you ready?
Yes.
How did your neighbor, Rose Salmon, take her 100th birthday celebration?
She loved it. And she kept saying, "Oh my God!" She goes, "The chief is so nice, and Mayor Coletti is so nice." And she was tired though. Right after you guys left, she went in.
Yeah.
But 100 years old is very remarkable.
A precious moment for sure. And,
Yeah,
and she said the chief was nice and the mayor was nice. So we know there's two people out there that like us.
I think she said handsome and nice.
You got more than that. All right. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you for calling in on that. Anyone else care to speak?
Jeffrey Freitag, 35 Hillman Drive. I have a question. A couple of meetings ago, it was discussed about the bubble top vehicle that had been owned and utilized by the ambulance corps is going to be given to Saddlebrook. Why is that? I understand we no longer have the volunteer ambulance corps, but why would it be given away?
Okay, Jeff, I don't know if we all got that. Did you get it, Mike?
Mr. Freitag, can you describe the vehicle? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
Bubble top vehicle the ambulance has. The small vehicle is called, I think you guys called it a bubble top vehicle. In fact, Mayor, I think you said this, does anyone here on the board or the council object to the ambulance corps giving it away to Saddlebrook?
I don't think I said that.
Well,
Maybe you.
want me to go to the audio tape?
Maybe you thought I said that.
But
I didn't say
anyway,
that.
regardless, does no one recall that?
We might have discussed the fact that they were going to give it away, but there's no one here condoned it. Go ahead, Mr. Attorney.
Oh, okay, because I didn't hear, I heard.
Mr. Freitag,
I didn't someone answer. So you're not going to give it away then?
Well, it's not.
Mr. Freitag, if I may, part of the discussions that we were having with the ambulance corps was their request that they could do that. Not that we as the borough have any right to stop them from doing it. They're a nonprofit.
Pro tax dollars?
Excuse me?
Part of the bond issue. As I recall,
No.
there were many meetings about the purchase of it. I know there was some
All right,
reservation about the purchase of it.
if I may finish, Mr. Freitag. There is no doubt in my mind that we can get into a legal aspect about it, but under the circumstances, it was my legal opinion at that point, even though if we were to litigate it, no matter who financed or how it was financed, they have a choice as a nonprofit organization when they're closing up to donate any and all of their property to anyone which is a nonprofit organization. But that was the only thing they wanted to give away, because apparently they have promised it and they wanted to keep their word. I'm not sure whether it was actually done yet, but I think it was already done. And I would not have advised the borough to get into a legal entanglement just for that aspect.
The main thing wasn't $5,000. So you're saying it was given away?
Yes,
It was.
yes.
I'm sorry?
As part of their closing their operation, they had promised to give this particular golf, I believe it's a type of golf cart. Well, it's similar to a golf cart with a back to it where you could put an individual on a gurney or whatever down.
Right.
All right? So basically, under the circumstances, I felt that without causing any issues and not involving lawsuits, I didn't think that that was a big issue. Where in turn, they're giving everything else.
Okay, so the mayor didn't think it was given away and said that everyone else agreed there was discussion and that no one was supported that, but it was.
Okay, Jeff, hold on a second. Mr. Foligno, you like to say something on the matter?
Yeah, I'll say from my perspective, from my seat, this is my voice. While I'm not sure on the legality of it and whether it was legal or illegal, if the borough wants to pursue that or not, but my opinion is it's not right. It was property of the borough through borough donations, possibly through borough tax dollars, and my opinion is that should have came back to the borough. Whether it's legal or illegal and whether that should be pursued or not is a discussion for the mayor and council with the borough attorney to have.
Okay, yeah, because I kind of figured there might be some uses within the borough with different departments, whatever. But, okay, I don't want to beat a dead horse. One thing I did want to bring up, again, I think it was 24320, the salary for 2020 as of January 1, the salary ordinance. And I believe it was the second reading. Was second or first?
It was the first
Anyway,
reading.
regardless, second.
First reading.
Now, one of the things I'd like to ask about is, within that ordinance, don't some of the people have separate contracts, yet their pay increased with that? It wasn't actually forecasted in the contract to come on January 1 of 20. It was either later or whatever. But were they all 2%?
Well, the majority was 2%, and there was a few people that had, well, one in particular that had a special anniversary or step, if you will, and I believe that would be, correct me if I'm wrong, that would be our chief financial officer. I'm correct with that. And then there was consideration for other items that were outside of that box, so to speak.
Well, if somebody had started a contract in November of 19 or October of 19 or whatever, September, then the time came for, and they got a contract together, and it was multi-years. And there were increases with that contract, and they were going to get on certain dates, increases. In addition to that, they got a raise.
Yes, I'm going to give you the clerk.
Mr. Freitag, I don't want to assume, but am I safe to say that you're talking about my position as the borough clerk?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't have a contract. I'm a department head, so all department heads fall on this salary ordinance, and whatever their appointing resolution or agreement is, they still all are entitled to 2%, especially our statutory officers. So the finance officer, the tax collector, tax assessor, and myself. You cannot give all other employees a raise without giving us four the same raise. Otherwise, you're opening yourself up to liability. So had everyone else gotten 2% and I didn't, that's not allowed, one. But two, I don't have a contract. That was just kind of an agreement that we agreed to when I requested my salary increase when I passed my RMC exam.
Yes, and Mr. Foligno.
So, Mr. Freitag, if an employee on the salary ordinance has a contract, you're not listening.
I'm sorry, can you start over, Mr. Freitag?
I'm sorry?
Can you start over? Someone else was speaking and I
Okay.
couldn't hear.
As I recall, there's going to be an increase in 21 and 22 of $5,000 each year.
Correct.
Okay. That was done publicly, nothing wrong. I mean, so anyway now. But, now your other increase was, November 19th, I believe, was when you got your certification, October of 19. Okay, and on November the 14th, rather, you went up to 85,000, I believe.
Correct.
Okay, so January 1 comes, and I don't know anything about, I just figured that an increase was coming January 1 of 2021. So that's going to be in addition to the 2% you just got now.
Correct.
Okay, because I remember them even naming the dollar amount as the 5,000 following that.
Correct.
Now, there be 2% increases January 1 on top of that, too?
Correct.
No, it's not $5,000 in reality. It's 5,000 plus 2% of whatever you're getting.
Yes.
Your base.
Another $100.
And if I could just interject for Mr. Freitag for comparison, as the mayor alluded, Mr. Rigatano, the CFO, was on a set 3-year increase that he had negotiated with the personnel committee and the council. He also has received the 2% in addition to the fixed dollar amounts that we laid out. So that is the past practice of the borough and is the practice when we go outside of just a general 2% and there's some kind of arrangement, because most of them don't have contracts. The 2% has always applied in addition to whatever those phase-ins are, for whatever reason those phase-ins exist.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It was definitely done last year's salary ordinance as it pertains to the CFO, and it would have been done 2 years ago as it pertains to the CFO if you went back and did the math and compared it to our agreement, and then you would have gotten to the real number by going 2%.
Yeah, and Jeff, even going back further, whenever an employee received that stipend or increase in pay, additionally, they would get their 2%. So it was not one or the other, it was all inclusive.
Now, the job has a step, per se, and there's not anniversary dates?
I missed the beginning of that.
Or would that be because that's a union position versus,
Department heads don't receive compensation for anniversary dates. I do believe the white collar union does, but that's all lined out in their contract.
Okay. It's just, I mean, well, I know schools do it this way too with they do it with September 1. A person could be out for 6 months and they still get an increase. But, okay, if you're saying it's statutorily.
That's standard procedure.
What's that?
That's standard
I don't mean
procedure.
procedure. I'm talking statutorily required, not procedure.
Yes, exactly. So as I said, for those 4 positions, assessor, collector, CFO, and clerk, what the other employees get by law, they need to get that same amount.
Thank you, Mr. Freitag. Also, is there anyone else who cares to speak from the public?
Jeffrey Freitag, 35 Hillman Drive. I'd like to thank you for putting the sign up at the end of the street for Mr. Soff, the veteran.
Oh, okay.
Got to say that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess we can pat our chief on the back for that.
Veterans.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Anyone else care to speak? And Jeff, if you come back on, there's a 3-time rule, I'm telling you right now.
I wouldn't dare.
If no one else cares to speak, I will move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor? These proceedings are now closed. Did you recall that colonel that said nuts back to? I didn't mean to imply that.
Thank you. And good luck.
Good meeting, council.
Thank you.